tell you what I know about Travon Walker's ankle and what I know about Trevor being acknowledged. I'll do all of that here today on Locked On Jaguars.
You are Locked On Jaguars, your daily Jacksonville Jaguars podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, man, I'm Tony Wiggins, the host of the Locked On Jaguars podcast, your daily Jacksonville Jaguars podcast. We're at your team every day, and we thank you for making us your first listen, reminding you that we are free on all platforms, no matter where you get your podcast, here, there, and everywhere. We are free, and you do not have to pay. BetOnline is today's sponsor. It's brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline has you covered this season with more props, odds, and lines than ever before. BetOnline is where the game starts. Like I said, y'all start here with me, making me your first listen every single day. So I'm going to just get right to it and let you know what's going on. We're going to talk a little bit about Travon Walker and what Doug Pederson said today about Travon Walker's ankle. We're getting to segment 2, some acknowledgement for Trevor Lawrence. He's getting a lot of that these days, but this one comes with an award, right? I don't know if it's a plaque, a piece of paper, or a trophy, but Trevor Lawrence is getting acknowledged a little bit further. Finally, segment 3, I'm going to talk about how the Jaguars, regardless of who's there or not, they've had a tendency to play up to their competition, and we'll go through that, and hopefully they'll continue to play up to their competition, and they'll play well this weekend against the Dallas Cowboys. But first and foremost, let's not bury the lead. Travon Walker only played 51% of the snaps against the Tennessee Titans last Sunday, which might have been his best performance, or at least it's one of his 2 best performances. This is a reason why, too. We'll discuss that, too. But he has a high ankle issue. I don't know what grade it is, if it's a strain or a sprain, but his condition is that he is day-to-day, according to Doug Pederson. So that doesn't mean he won't play. That's a nasty injury, though. I would think that this is just me, that if he does dress up, he only plays in like dire emergencies, and I think the team hopes that they can get by without him a little bit. It's going to be tough, though, man, because Travon is a physical freak. His athleticism shows up on tape, even though he might not have the amount of sacks that everyone thinks that he should have. He's played well. So he's day-to-day. We'll see whether or not he plays against Dallas. What effect does it have on the game? They can still win the game. They can still be effective. But obviously you want all hands on deck, especially guys like him. And it looks like he was turning that corner and potentially getting a little hot, as you know, as they say, with the way that he played just this past Sunday. Something that did benefit him, though, I believe, is playing from a 3-point stance with his hand on the ground. I said it weeks back. I got the tape. I can pull it if somebody doesn't believe me, that maybe shortening the distance between him and whoever. Some people equate this with moving inside the 3 technique. I don't do that. I say maybe shortening the distance with someone, with him playing defensive end just with his hand on the ground, that maybe what that would do is give him a chance to get up on guys quicker, use that first step, and use his strength, as opposed to taking a running start and then giving the defensive or the offensive line a head start and seeing which way he was coming from and then being too high once he got there. I heard Leon Searcy basically say that same thing, that this allows the action to happen quicker, and that benefits the most athletic guy instead of giving a navigation system, if you will, to the offensive lineman. It's a little bit easier, especially for a younger guy, who may not know how to stay low, right? If your hand is on the ground already and you come up, then you're already low. So I think moving forward, what you'll see, and Doug Pederson even hinted at it, about putting the guys in the right spot, saying that they like what they saw from him. They like how sudden and how quick he was. And I'm sure they have a season-long breakdown of plays from Travon where what he looked like when he was up, what he looked like he was down. And then when you get to the offseason, I think, that's where you can coach some things and give him some ideas and some room on how he needs to train and proceed so that he can get better and do both at the same time. But I'm pleased with his play. I know the stat watchers are probably saying I'm being a homer, that he hasn't played as well as you would think. I totally disagree with that. I think he adds an element to this team and to this defense. You want to get more guys just like that, right? You want to get more guys that go hard every single play, that are super, super athletic. And once you have them, you have a team full of them, then they all start eating together. People will never stop, though, comparing him to Aiden Hutchinson, and that's cool. But Aiden always plays with his hand on the ground, and now that Travon, if he stays healthy, will probably more likely get more chances to have his hands on the ground. And I think you'll see his production go up. Brian Baldinger, if you follow Brian Baldinger, he does a real good job of breaking it down, especially after every game the Jaguars win. Go check him out, and you'll see why so many people really, really, really love Travon Walker. I don't know what is going on with me. Y'all laughing. If you're on YouTube, you need to laugh because I've been holding this yawn in, and it comes like every 15 seconds or something. It's probably because I'm on his meds, and I'm trying to still get over this upper respiratory infection that I had. But will he be missed? Yeah, you're always going to miss guys like that. You always want all hands on deck. I think with the mix and the match of the guys that they have, the game can still go the way that you want it to go. They're going to have to get creative. I think they're going to have to get creative and take some chances. So look forward to them. Look forward to DeJuan Smoot. By the way, if you're going to be missing somebody at a position, the best guys to have are guys like DeJuan Smoot and Arden Key, who can give you a little bit of a boost. Josh Allen showed up when everybody else was showing up the other day. He needs to show up again this weekend, even if everybody else doesn't show up. So we'll hope and see if Josh Allen can do that come this weekend. Now, we all love when our quarterback gets acknowledged because, whenever things go bad, folks, they make sure they tell you that those things are going bad, and they don't necessarily acknowledge someone when the fans always want them to. But when the love does come in big doses. And I think right now, Trevor Lawrence is getting loved on in big doses so much that he was named Player of the Week in the AFC. And I don't think that's going to quiet everybody down who like to criticize him about everything. It's also not going to quiet the fans down, and fans are going to always still think, and rightfully so, that Trevor, doesn't get enough credit for the things that he does well, but he gets blamed for everything that he doesn't do well. I've done that to him too, so y'all can get on me. But I'll talk about Trevor Lawrence being named AFC Offensive Player of the Week in just a second here on Locked On Jaguars. First, I have to let you know that today's show is sponsored by LinkedIn Talent Solutions. I'll let you know, man, these days, every new potential hire can feel like high stakes wager for your small business. You want to be 100% certain that you have access to the best qualified candidates available. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs, because LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the right people for your team faster and for free. I've used them in my small business when I needed to staff an entire barbershop and beauty salon with 11 employees. Got the responses I needed. LinkedIn really did prioritize the folks that I wanted to interview. And what do you know? Boom, just out of that simple hiring process, I was able once to staff an entire salon and to do it very, very quickly. Now, you can do the same thing, man. You just go on LinkedIn, add your job and the purple hashtag hiring frame to your LinkedIn profile to spread the word that you're hiring. Simple tools like screening questions make it easy for candidates to focus on, and for you to focus on candidates with just the right skills and experience so you can quickly prioritize who you'd like to interview and hire. Here's what you need to do. Understand that LinkedIn Jobs helps you find those qualified applicants you want to hire faster. So post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedonnfl, one word. That's linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. All right, man. This episode is also brought to you by Audible. That's right, Audible. Now, you're going to absolutely love this because if you're anything like me, you love hearing guys who played the game of football, or who just participate in a high level of sports, be able to tell you behind the scene things. Audible is releasing a slate of new football podcasts that we're sure you're going to love. That's why you'll be able to find a sneak peek of Think Like a Champion available right now as a bonus episode on Locked On Presents. Think Like a Champion is a brand new podcast from Russell Wilson and Audible. Russ is a champion on the field and off it, and along with host Harry Wilson and the late Trevor Moad, digs into how high-performance athletes, artists, and leaders push the boundaries of their potential. You can hear from guys like Tim Tebow. You can hear from former MVP and Super Bowl champion Von Miller, and they tell you how you have to move as a high-profile athlete, and they'll just give you stories that you can get nowhere else. Head over to Locked On Presents for a sneak peek of Think Like a Champion, or catch the full series available anywhere you get podcasts, available everywhere now. Audible, get in the game. And hopefully you get the game with me here on Locked On Jaguars, making me your first listen every single day, because it's your team every day. We thank you. We are eternally grateful for you joining us and finding us wherever you get your podcast. Trevor Lawrence was named AFC South Player of the Week. Go ahead and clap one time. Go on and keep the party going with your applause. It's about time that this kid gets acknowledged for what he's done. 10 interceptions, no interceptions, in fact, 10 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, 70%, over 70% completion rate since week 9. This is what he's done. But he did enough this week with 368 yards passing, 3 passing touchdowns, and 1 rushing touchdown. That, by the way, was something he called on his own. And he was acknowledged as AFC Player of the Week. Sometimes he's played well and the team has lost, so he wasn't acknowledged. This time, everything lined up the way it was supposed to line up, and he was acknowledged. What does it mean for him? I think more than what it means for him, what it signals for him is the start of something that's potentially great. It signals the work that he's put in. It in of itself doesn't mean anything is going to help him. But what it does is it validates and it lets you know that the work that he's been putting in and all of the things that he's doing is working, it's being acknowledged, and now other people are starting to see it. And when you're a quarterback that everyone expects to be great, that attention is something that you absolutely want, because you want other teams to know exactly what you're capable of and to go above and beyond and try to do things to stop you from being successful, which for you, the great player, opens up things that allow you to exploit everything everyone will go through in order to try to stop you. I hope you got all that, because that's actually the perfect way that I can describe it. You want people to know what you're capable of, and you want people to know what's coming. And you want them to go out of their way to do certain things, because that's the challenge that you'll have to overcome it. And basically let them know there ain't nothing you can do. There ain't nothing you can do. You just going to have to take this, and your team is going to have to understand that y'all going to have to get this act right and this straightening every single time. And I think Trevor is starting to piece these things together so much to the point where it's going to start becoming a pure expectation that maybe he doesn't have the greatest game of all, every single time, but there are going to be points that he's going to be great every single week, and he's going to limit the bad things. And that's why I acknowledge the fact that he has 10 TDs with 0 picks. Is because it's not just throwing the ball and putting the ball in certain and making people go, wow. It's not just showing that you could be effective and score touchdowns and move the ball and get a bunch of yards and be competitive. What it is when you're the person who limits mistakes, when you can do great things without also committing great mistakes, when you can be efficient, you can be just superlative in terms of what you bring to the table, and then minimize the risk of having negative things happen to your team. Well, that is when you descend and you start getting to the point of greatness. And it's also limiting those mistakes. Like, you might not have the stats and the touchdowns every week, but if you don't have the mistakes, even when you don't have those things, and the perfect case in point is Joe Burrow. With this a couple of weeks ago, he was missing all of his receivers. He didn't make critical mistakes, even though he didn't make a ton of plays. But all of a sudden, when he needed to make a play, he got it done, and they won the game. And I think that that's a critical aspect of being able to develop yourself and get to the point where it's not just that teams will expect you to be statistically superior every week. It's more or less it's the things that you don't do that they'll expect you not to do, like throw the ball in the end zone on 1st and 5 and get it picked off. When you eliminate those things, when you eliminate the fumbles, when you eliminate the plays that change drives and change field position, yeah, that's a sign of maturity, and that's a sign of getting better. And receiving awards and accolades is just a byproduct of that improvement. So good to see him acknowledged from a national level. Jaguars fans are always talking about how nobody pays attention to him. Let me tell you what attention is. Attention is you got a game against the Dallas Cowboys that is the number one game for the network that is going to be on this week. So what that tells you is this: folks are watching, and folks are watching to see if it's really, really real. Trevor Lawrence is the real deal. I think he's going to continue to be great. You're going to need him to be really good this weekend against Dallas. I think he can do it, and I think he has a chance to do it. It's because over the last couple of years, the Jaguars have always seemed to play up to their competition, and I don't think that's going to change this weekend. I'll tell you why in just a second here on Locked On Jaguars, after I let you know that today's episode is sponsored by BetOnline.net, and I'm proud of that because BetOnline is your number one source for sports betting info, stats, news, and analysis. You know, how many people ask me about games and what I think is going to happen? You know, how many people come up to me every day and go, give me the inside scoop? Well, I tell them, you know what? I'm going to show you how smart I am. I'm going to refer you to BetOnline. Don't ask me, because that's where I go. And you go there and get the latest odds, trends for every professional amateur league out there, from football to college bowl season, basketball, World Cup. We've got it all covered at betonline.net. If you love sports podcasts, you can even find those there at BetOnline as well. We're always the fastest and easiest way to get your betting info. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more, because BetOnline is where the game starts. And once again, you start here every single day with me, and I'm eternally grateful for that. Tony Wiggins here, host of the Locked On Jaguars podcast, where you make us your first listen every day because it's your team every day. Now I want you to make Locked On Sports Today your second listen. Locked On Sports Today is a show about all sports, just the biggest stories in sports, with local Locked On experts to walk you and navigate you through the goings and comings of those big stories. You can find all of that in about a 30-minute or less podcast every single day with the Locked On Sports Today show. Say hello to Peter Bukowski when you're over there. Make sure you like and subscribe on the Odyssey app here or wherever you get podcasts. All right, so this theory I have is that the Jaguars seem to play up to their competition. Does it mean they also play down to their competition? You could say that, because there have been a couple of instances this year where, well, that's happened. The Texans, the Colts in the second game, the Lions, and the Giants. I think those, and probably the Denver game too. So those 5 games, I believe they sort of played down to their competition a little bit, and they lost all 5 of them. And had they won 3 of those very winnable games, this would be a whole different ballgame. They'd be 8-5. They'd be sitting there at the top of the division and probably being able to clinch a playoff spot in 2 wins. But we can't look back too much, right? We have to pay attention to what's in front of them. So let me name the games where I thought the Jaguars played really, really well against a good team. In Cincinnati last year, where they lost on a walk-off field goal. At home last year against Buffalo. Um, this year on the road against the Chargers. Notice I just named Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert, and Josh Allen. Not in the same order, but you get my point. They played well on the road against Kansas City, Patrick Mahomes. All right. They played well at home against Lamar Jackson in Baltimore, a game they won. They played well in coming back from a 17-0 deficit to a very talented Oakland team or Las Vegas team, and they won. And they played well against the Tennessee Titans, who's one of the best teams in the AFC the last decade, a team that they never usually beat, a team with a very good coach, and they won. I expect that trend to continue this weekend, that they will play extremely well against the Dallas Cowboys, who are one of the better teams in the NFL, like a top 5 team. They just have a tendency, in my opinion, to not play down to their competition, but more or less, they also play up to their competition. I think we're back to the Jaguars who lose games by 1 score or less, as opposed to the anomaly of the way that they were mollywopped and whipped up by the Detroit Lions when they lost by 26. And I also think that they found something in how they want to play and an identity. Quick passing game, throw the ball to the tight end, short passing game, run after the catch, pick your spots where you catch seam routes, test the outside area of the hashes downtown, and give your guys a chance to catch the ball. And then mix in a lot of draw plays, run plays, maybe even wheel routes and screens to your running backs. I think Doug is starting to hit a little bit of a hot spot. And I think if Dallas comes in this game and they are trying to overlook the Jacksonville Jaguars, it will be an abstract mistake. So I really believe that they're going to play up to the competition and it's going to be a real good game Sunday. In fact, I actually believe more than that, but I'll leave that for our Locked On crossover with my man Marcus Mosier. And I want y'all to check out exactly what I said on there. And Marcus is going to surprise you as well when you hear what he has to say about the Jacksonville Jaguars. Until then, man, you guys take care of each other. Tune in for the crossover edition on tomorrow and make sure, get ready for this game, man. Get locked and loaded. I got to check the weather, too, on what the weather is anticipated to be Sunday. And to kind of get us into the mood of what we're going to have to do and how we're going to feel come this weekend. All right, take care of each other. Like I always say, we'll see you for another edition on Locked On Jaguars. Your team every day, and we thank you for making us your first listen.